What's good? Rick in here with another episode of The Mortal Entrepreneur. And yesterday we talked about my experience finding a manufacturer overseas. Today I want to talk about 3 reasons why I would think twice about manufacturing overseas and 1 reason why I still would. But first, let's jump to the intro. Now there are 3 main reasons I would think twice about manufacturing overseas. First off is time, secondly is quality, and lastly is cost. So let's dive into the first one, time. Whenever you're manufacturing overseas, time is one of the things that you never can predict. Anything you manufacture overseas is going to take much longer than manufacturing it down the street from you. And that's just kind of obvious. You have to add in a month or 2 for shipping and delays, but there's other time factors that come into play. Every time you make a modification, you're going to have to send a sample back and forth. Little tweaks like that you just can't make overnight. And today, when you want to be agile, having that flexibility with time is just super important. And I think time is one of those reasons that I would really consider manufacturing locally over manufacturing overseas. Secondly is quality. Now, there's a lot to be said about Chinese manufacturing and the quality and the improvement that there's been in quality over the past 5-10 years. It used to be that Chinese manufacturing was just associated with Chinese crap. But today, a lot of Chinese manufacturing is pretty great. Think about it. Your iPhone is made in China, and it's a pretty solid device. So manufacturing in China can really be great. That said, you have to work a little bit harder to get the same levels of quality. When you're just starting out, unless you own production from end to end, you're not going to have that full say when it comes to quality control, or it's going to be a lot more difficult to maintain those quality standards. Unless you have your boots on the ground and you can actually make sure that every single unit is being QC'd to your expectations, you might find that a lot of the product that you get might not meet the quality expectations that you would in the States. Again, you can resolve a lot of these by being more and more hands-on, but at a certain point, you can't rectify issues unless you're actually there. Once you have the product in the States, it's just too late to make any changes. So even a small mistake can add up to a very costly error. And the last is cost. Historically, one of the big advantages of manufacturing overseas was it was much cheaper. But recently, there's reports that say skilled labor only costs 4% less in China than it does here. So if you're really making something that's complicated or requires some craftsmanship, manufacturing in China might not be the answer. You might spend just as much money manufacturing in China as you would here, especially once you factor in the cost of shipping and customs and tariffs. All these things that are just a fixed cost that you're going to have as part of the process. So once you factor in 10-15% for manufacturing and shipping overseas, and once you factor in maybe 5-10% for customs and duties, and just other fees that might pop up, you really have to question, are you getting that competitive advantage that you thought you were? It used to be that manufacturing in China was 10 times cheaper than it was in the States. But if you're only saving 10, 15, or 20%, you really want to rethink whether or not it's worth manufacturing in China. Now, all that said, there's one reason why I would still consider manufacturing overseas, and that's access. There's a YouTube channel called Stranger Parts, and they do a great job talking about Shenzhen. If you're in Shenzhen, you can find all the electronics you need. And on a similar note, if you're working in China, you can find factories and manufacturers that you simply could not in the United States. When I was starting Moonlit and trying to find a mattress manufacturer in China, it was a lot easier to do. There are a number of factories that are ready to be turnkey and build out your product as you want because they have the excess capacity. Flip back to the United States and it's much, much harder to do that. It's really difficult to go out and find a factory that can make a custom mattress, especially without making thousands of units at a time. In the case of mattresses, we would have had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars buying the tools and resources to do it in the States, whereas in China, we can make a minimum order as small as $25,000. That's really a game changer if you want to try out different ideas without investing in the tooling and the manufacturing to do it. Also, having access to the raw materials. In the United States, it's pretty hard for me to just go out and buy latex. I would have spent months doing that. But in China, there's suppliers ready to go. So if you really want to build something quick, you want to test something out in low volumes, China might be the way to go. But overall, the 3 downsides, time, quality, and cost, really have made me reconsider, and for our next set of furniture, we're really going to be looking at manufacturing locally. So I hope that video will help you decide whether or not you want to manufacture overseas. If you guys enjoyed that video, please go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with an episode of The Mortal Intern.